Okay, so we're back. So we are going to go through the components of GDP, gross domestic product, in the next few slides. And as you can see, you'll get very familiar with this equation right here. Okay, it is, some things don't make a whole lot of total sense here, but Y is GDP. Think of Y as everything that is in GDP. Okay, with C being consumption, and I'll get to what that is in the next slide. I being investment, G being government purchases, a lot of people call it government spending, and NX is net exports, which is exports minus imports. Okay, so first we begin with consumption. Okay, and as we've talked about in earlier chapters, before you took this class, you probably thought of consuming as eating something, like food, consumption is things that we use that eventually go away. Okay, so it's total spending by households on goods and services. Okay, they mention here a couple things about housing costs that I'll give you a few seconds to read it here, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I want to just get the basics. But pretty much it's everything you consume that is gone. Things like movies is a service you consume. Okay, food is something you actually consume, but also things like the pens you bought, okay, that is consumption. Shampoo, okay, is consumption. Okay, if you hired a lawyer, okay, that is a service, and that goes in consumption, etc., etc., etc. Okay, next, investment. Okay, whoops. Investment is, don't think of it like people traditionally think of investment. Okay, why don't you read this box first? Okay, and I'm going to say not. Okay, it's not how you traditionally think of the word investment. Okay, it's spending on goods that are going to be used somewhere down the road. Okay, goods to make goods. Capital equipment. Okay, buildings. And here's the one that always confuses people, inventories. And I'll get to this in our homework problems. But if I'm Samsung and I make 100 laptops, okay, and I sell 50 of them now, 50 in 2012, okay, and 50 of them don't sell, okay, 50 unsold, okay. These go to consumption. These ones, I'll erase this line real quick. Whoop. These ones go to investment, okay, because they're part of inventories, okay? So inventory is a huge part of investment. Now, later down the road, we'll see where things are going to get messy is at what point do you call something inventory and at what point do you call it junk? Because you've already counted those things as GDP in a previous year. So anyways, that gives you a little overview of what investment is. Government purchases, operative word purchases, okay. You'll also see it called government spending. Okay, and essentially it is the spending on government by all levels of government, okay. But it's not transfer payments. Okay, the biggest transfer payment in the world is Social Security. That does not get included in government spending. Okay, our Social Security payments are pretty static. There's not a lot of movement depending, regardless of what happens with the economy. Okay, unemployment does not count as government purchases. Medicaid does not. Medicare and Medicaid do not count as government purchases. Okay. However, if a government builds a bridge, okay, that's government spending. Okay, if they build what do they call those things where they land planes on in the water? Aircraft carriers. Okay, that's government spending. Okay, etc., etc. Schools, public schools are government spending, etc., etc. Okay, now net exports. Okay, which they call NX. Whoopsie. Now, one thing you'll see in this book and in others is net exports is exports equals E. I'm sorry. You'll see exports listed as X for exports, and imports will be M for imports. Just so if you see it written like that, you understand what's going on. Okay, so net exports is just simply what you send out to other countries minus what you bring in. Okay, and this represents all parts of the equation. Okay, so you have GDP equals consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports. So you need to memorize this. Consumption plus investment plus gov spending plus net exports. Okay, now take a guess as to what you think current American GDP is. Because it's about to come on the next slide. Make a guess, make a guess. If you're in a dorm room, look at your roommate and say, here's my guess. And here. Okay, so this is in billions. Okay, so as you'll see, in 2007, okay, total GDP was $13.8 trillion. Okay, most of that is consumption. Okay, 70%, 15% investment, 19% government spending. So this shows you, particularly in election years, why things can get so hotly debated, because this is a ton of money. Okay, this is a whole lot of money. $2.69 trillion. Okay, so that's a lot. Another thing that is concerning, I'm probably not as concerned as some others, but is the fact that this is a negative number. Okay, for many years in America, this was a positive number, but it's been negative for most of the duration of my lifetime, and it's going to continue to get more and more negative. So you can see when you add all of these up, okay, it's going to equal this, give or take a couple $1 billion, which you can probably find in amongst your seat cushions. So now what I want you to do is I want you to look at the following slide, and I'm going to end here, and I want you to guess each one of these problems, A, B, C, and D, how it will affect GDP. So I will let the slides run for a couple more seconds, and then I will pause it. It has been a pleasure doing part 3 of chapter 23. So long.